how we doing today? Are we excited? Yeah, all right. We're expecting something? Yeah? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, 5 of you are. Welcome into Second Baptist Church.
Where God's love comes first.
All right. We are so excited to be here. We're excited to get started. This is one of my favorite messages so far, so strap in. I may get a little kick my leg up, so if the box flies off, just ignore it. We are going to work our way through it. But let's get started. Let's get worshiping. Renee, you guys
ready?
Saddle up.
Right.
Oh, sorry. There's. Okay.
Hi, Samantha. Come on. We're excited.
It's on the Larry Curtis and all.
So many of you guys know that I work at the College of the Muskogee Nation. Coming up on October, can you hear me? No. Okay, October 15th, we are going to have the Day of Giving. And so I am requesting some clothes washing detergent and dryer sheets. We get a lot of students that come in that live in the dorms that come in with clothes on their back. Some of them don't even have $1 when they get here. A lot of them come from, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Is it not on, Larry? It's real quiet.
Do I need to start over?
Yes.
Okay, so I work at the College of the Muskogee Nation. We are requesting to have some clothes washing detergent and dryer sheets. We are doing something called the Day of Giving, which we also did this a couple of years ago when everybody donated. So we get a lot of students that come in that are from the reservation. They don't have any money to their name. They don't have any family around. They just have the clothes on their back. I know one student in particular was homeless right before he came to the college. So everybody that's on the committee, we're all affiliated with churches. And so all of us in our churches get together and we donate all this stuff for the Day of Giving for these students to come in and get the stuff that they need. So I am requesting the clothes washing detergent and dryer sheets. And like I was saying, on October 15th will be the last day that we accept donations. So we're going to have the Day of Giving on October 18th, and I am just requesting for the clothes washing soap and dryer sheets, please.
Sammy, tell them where to put them.
Oh, we're going to put it in the mission corner in the back. So you guys can just drop it off back there and we'll go from there. But did everybody hear me? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Good morning. And then I'm really excited that you're here. Stand to your feet as we begin. He has made me glad. Put a smile on your face. I will enter his gates with singing in my heart. I will enter his courts with praise. I will say this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. I will rejoice for he has made me glad. He has made me glad. He has made me glad. I will rejoice for he has made me glad. Amen. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of our Lord. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of joy. All God's people said, Amen. You may be seated. This next song says, hear our praises, Lord, as we come into your house of worship. May our homes be filled with dancing, our streets be filled with joy. May injustice bow to Jesus as the people turn to pray. And it says, from the mountains to the valleys, hear our praises, Lord, this morning as we come before you. to worship and honor you.
May our homes be filled with dancing. May our streets be filled with joy. May injustice bow to Jesus as the people turn and pray from the mountain to the valley. Hear our praises rise to you from the heavens to the nations. Hear our singing, fill the air. May our light shine in the darkness as we walk before the cross. May your glory fill the whole earth as the water o'er the seas. From the mountain to the valley, hear our praises rise to you. From the heavens to the nations, hear our singing, fill the air. From the mountain to the valley, hear our praises rise to you. From the heavens to the nations, hear our singing, fill the air.
God's word says, "Oh, that men would give thanks to the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. For he satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness."
To the nation.
Father, Lord, we come to you this morning, taking up this offering. We pray, Father, that it'll be to please you. And we thank you for the opportunity we have here this morning to be in your house, to hear your word, and to worship you. You deserve all worship. You deserve our love. You deserve our desire. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
This song says, all I had to offer He made something beautiful. How many of you can give testimony of that this morning? Raise your hand. Come on. Yes, that's the best thing that ever happened to us. Something beautiful. Something good. Sing, church. All my confusion, He understood. All I had to offer Him was brokenness and strife, but He made something beautiful out of my life. Amen. That's just so awesome. And I just love it when we get to sing scripture, word for word, right out of God's word. It says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6:33. Hold on. Keep going, keep going. You know what? The devil hates for us to read God's word, doesn't he? And he's going to mess it up every time. I'm not going to give that one to the Lord. Here we go. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. And all these things shall be added unto you. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Hallelujah,
Amen. Can you hear me? Did I turn myself off? There I am. So we're going to open up the altars here. We're going to have a time of corporate prayer here. Let's invite the Lord into this house, because let me tell you, we had a rough morning at home. Anybody have a husband or a wife, and sometimes you have rough mornings? Yes. We had one of those. But when we walked in the house today, there was such joy as soon as we come through the doors. You know that God is doing a work today. He's doing a work in this church and in this town. So let's open up these altars. Let's invite Him into this house, because I cannot do this on my own. So I want to pray for us, and you feel free to come up here and pray where you are, but ask the Lord into this house and ask Him to get it done, because we cannot do it. Lord, we love who you are, and we love what you have done for us, and we thank you. We thank you for the fact that you did it, no matter the fact that we can never repay this. And we invite you into this house. We invite you into the lives of the people in this room, God. That you may speak into our lives, that it's not Adam speaking today, but it is you speaking through me, God. And for all those who have come hurting and have come broken and have come lost and confused and hurting, God, I ask you to give them peace and understanding. I ask you to step into the pew and you sit with them and you carry them through this message. And as you carry them through, you give them a sense of joy. Because we're not looking for happiness, God. I'm done chasing happiness. I'm done chasing rabbits. I'm done traveling all the way to dead ends just to know that I can't do it on my own, God. And I need you to fill me with your joy that only you can bring. God, we lay this church, we lay Second Baptist at your feet. at the feet of the King. We are at your mercy. We are not a people church. We are a God church. And we need God to work a mighty work. And we need you to do it today. We need it yesterday. We need it every day. Because we know you are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, God. So give us peace today, God. So that we may carry out your work tomorrow. I pray for the safety of the people in this room. I pray that you open their ears and you open their minds and you open our hearts for what you have to say. Oh, God, do a mighty work. We need you, we need you, we need you. Oh, God, I pray all these things in your Son's precious, precious, precious name. Amen. Amen. Ooh, I hope y'all are ready for something today.
Amen.
I'm ready to find my spot. So we're going to carry on the Beatitudes today. And today is all about hunger and thirst. Matthew 5, verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. For righteousness. For they shall be satisfied. Not they might be satisfied, not they're going to be half full, nothing like that. They will be satisfied. You know I don't like the way my voice sounds on camera. Get one. All right, so Matthew 5, verse 6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. You want to know the problem with diets? They don't work. You know, my biggest problem with diets, I'm always hungry. I'm always hungry. So I don't do diets. I heard one comedian say one time when he's doing his act, he said, he's talking about his dislike of diets. He said, I don't want to die someday knowing I could have had another taco. There you go. Chicken nuggets, mine's cheeseburgers. I don't want to die knowing I could have had another cheeseburger. I'll just die fat and happy. I don't care. Hunger and thirst make us uncomfortable, don't they? When you're hungry, you're uncomfortable. When you're hungry, you're mean. But there are a lot of different levels of hunger and thirst, aren't there? As far as I could tell, there's a couple levels of hunger and thirst. There's, I could eat. You know, I could eat. And you go on from there. I don't care, whatever you want. And oh my, if you're married or you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, oh my, I've heard that 1,000 times. I don't care, I could eat. Or there's another level above that. I don't care, let's just go now. I don't care, let's just go. There's another level. This may be specific to my marriage, but well, I've been thinking about Hamburger King, or I've been thinking about Chili's or something. And I learned, and God bless me, it took me 2 years to figure this out, but I've learned when she says, I've been thinking about this, that means let's go. Let's go now. Or there's the highest level of this is, I want Burger King, and I want it now. We're going. I'm going with it without you. See, more than likely, well, my dad used to say, if nobody knows what they want to eat, we must not be that hungry. Right?
Amen.
If you can't pick, you must not be hungry, so sit down. And more than likely, one of us I say that, more than likely, all of us are at one of these stages right now. Even while I'm bringing it up, even while I'm talking about it, some of you are probably thinking, I wonder what sounds good today. I wonder what I'm hungry for. Well, they're always packed, or they're always busy. Maybe if you get this out of here before 12, we can get down to Tapatio. But when you get one. But when my dad used to say that, if you're not very hungry, if you can't pick, then you must not be hungry. When he used to say that, I think it indirectly speaks to the fact that a lot of the Western world, we don't really know what hunger and thirst mean, do we? If you think about the state of America, now there are some parts that truly understand what it means, but the large majority of the Western world here doesn't really know what it means to be hungry and thirsty. To be truly uncomfortable. One doctor said she defined starvation as a process of malnutrition to a point where life can't sustain itself. Has anyone in here ever been that kind of hungry? I doubt it. Not recently. Oh, we're all wound up today, aren't we? Around 9 million people die every year from hunger-related diseases. 9 million people. That's more than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. If you want to go even further with that, 3.1 million of those are children. And if you would like me to do the math, I have. So that means each year, about 6 children per minute die of hunger around the world. Per minute. We've been here 30 minutes. It's a lot of children that have died from something we don't really truly understand. And this is the type of hunger and thirst that we're looking at today. He says, "Blessed are you who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. They shall be made full." This is the kind of starvation that lurks just around the corner. For righteousness. So you ask yourselves today, have I ever really truly hungered and thirsted for righteousness? You look at the state of the American church now today. They're not very hungry. As my dad would say, they don't really know what they want, so they must not be hungry. Are we hungry? Are we thirsty for righteousness? Dr. Kent Hughes, the pastor, said of this beatitude, "It is not a comfortable picture." Jesus is far from recommending a genteel desire for spiritual nourishment, but rather a starvation for righteousness. A starvation for it. Not just I could go to church if I got time. Well, if we don't have this going on, if we don't have that going on, if there's no practice, if there's no this, if there's no that, we might be able to make it. Now, that's not, you're not hungry if you're saying that. What you are just making time for it. He's recommending a starvation for righteousness, a desperate hungering to be conformed to God's will. Are we as a church hungry to be conformed to God's will? Hungry. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. And whether we want to admit it or not, all of us inside, in our spirit and in our heart, we all have this desire for nourishment. We all have it. But the problem with the world, the problem with who we are as fallen humans is we seek it in the wrong places, don't we? I'm hungry to be fulfilled. And we have this idea of what our life should look like or what our life should have been by now. And we'll attempt to fit the pieces around this idea of happiness. And this is the difference between chasing happiness and finding joy. Because when we're chasing happiness, we're going to try to fit our life around what we think it means to be happy. And it doesn't usually work like that, does it? Anyone tried to make your own happiness before? How did it turn out? We're broken. We can't define happiness like that. So people all over the world, they're looking for meaning. They're looking for something to belong to. They're looking for a purpose. They're looking for the joy that I was looking for as we didn't, to be honest with you, Amy and I, we didn't speak the whole way to church. I didn't have anything to say to her. We were looking for joy. And we're hungry enough and we're thirsty enough for it that we're going to go to church anyways. I may not be feeling it today. I may not be up for it. I may not be doing this. I may not be doing that. Every morning when you wake up, a lot of the mornings you're going to feel like that. I'm just not up to it. I don't feel like it. God, you can do the work, but do it in somebody else's life right now. I don't have time for it. But when you're truly, truly hungry, you're going to get here anyways, aren't you? People are looking for meaning. They are looking for purpose all over the world. Spiritual nourishment. And a place to feel like they really belong. And the way the world is today, and the way the internet works, social media, how far down that rabbit hole do you want to go? C.S. Lewis said of social media, he said, social media is like cake. In moderation, it is tasty and enjoyable, but consume too much of it and you will feel sick. Sick. Are you hungry for the wrong things? See, the danger of social media rests in truly, at its most basic level, the danger of social media is our desire for validation. I want to be validated. I want people to tell me how great I am. I want them to see that picture, and I want them to like it. I want them to get on the church Facebook page and watch it 100,000 times on the message. I need people to recognize what I'm doing. That's really at the heart of social media. Yeah, some of it we can find long-lost friends and relatives, and sometimes relatives find us that we didn't want us to be found. And when you're looking to fill this void by comparing yourself to everyone else, you're never going to be full. You are never going to be full comparing yourself to somebody else. You're not going to be full, you're going to be a fool. Amen. You're going to be made a fool of. And this has been one of the themes of the Beatitudes up to this point. If you go through it, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are those who are meek, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. We are all equally broken, but our only validation comes from Jesus Christ and our desire to live every minute for His glory. So there is no comparison because we're all the same. You can't compare. There is no comparison because we are all equally broken. There is no comparison among sinners because we are all equally in need of the same grace. You can't compare grace to grace. You can't compare sin to sin. You can't compare this because we're all the same. So when I say we hunger and thirst for righteousness, we should all have the same hunger and thirst for righteousness, whether you've been lost for 40 years or you've been lost for 20 minutes. It's the same. And you're never going to find your joy or your validation from comparing yourself to others. Because you know what? Honestly, the grass is always greener on the other side. Or you can have those corny t-shirts, well, the grass is always greener where you water it. Grass is always going to be greener somewhere else. You're always going to be able to find a better preacher at another church. You're always going to be able to find this. You're always going to be able to find a church with more money or a church with more program. You're always going to be able to find something. But do you hunger and thirst for righteousness? Or do you hunger and thirst for validation? All ready?
Yeah.
Or maybe not even social media. You look at relationships. Anybody ever search for validation in a relationship? Oh, boy. We don't have the time to get into all my demons on that. Or your validation through work. Your validation through drugs or alcohol or something like that. We pour ourselves into these things looking for this joy and looking for this validation. And though some of those may look worse on the surface, obviously drugs and alcohol are going to look worse than trying to validate yourself through work, but you're all searching for the same thing. It's not there. It's chasing the wind. Anybody ever caught the wind? Can't do it. Keep running. And though some of these, they may look worse on the surface, they have the same result. Relationships, jobs, social media, drugs and alcohol. Solomon says in Ecclesiastes 1:14, I have seen everything that is done under the sun. And behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind. I have seen everything. So if you look at the life of Solomon, you realize he was known for three things. Wisdom, women, and wealth. the most wise man that ever lived. He said, God offers him anything. God says, well, I'll give you anything you want. What do you want? And Solomon asked for wisdom. And so God said, behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you shall ever was before or will ever arise after you. You will be wise beyond your years. You will be the most wise person that ever walks this earth. But he was wise. He had 1,000 wives. God bless him. I don't know what a man would do with 1,000 wives. He would be in trouble all the time.
Not very wise.
He was also the richest man that ever lived. If you look at some of the gold that he took in each year, Solomon took in 666 talents of gold every single year. You want to compare that, put that in dollars, that 1 talent is about 75 pounds. Solomon took over $1 billion worth of gold every year. Every year he had $1 billion coming in. That's just the gold. He had all this other stuff too. He had all the taxes and the camels and the women and the donkeys and the horses, and he had all this stuff. So I don't think we'll ever truly be able to comprehend the amount of wealth that Solomon contained. Wealthy beyond earthly measure. So Solomon was the wisest man who will ever live. He had more women than any man would ever need. And he had more money than any man would ever need. And yet, it's all vanity. The grass is greener if we would just have more money. The grass is greener if I was just a little more book smart. The grass is always going to be greener if I knew my Bible better, if I did this, if I did that. The grass is always going to be greener, but it's all vanity. Because though he had all this stuff, what he really begins to hunger and thirst for are things outside of God's righteousness. He gets all these things and he gets them built up, and he's so distracted by programs, and he's so distracted by the method that he forgets the mission. The mission is the righteousness of God. And when we forget that, we begin hungry for other things, and we're lost. We're a church chasing the wind. He began to hunger and thirst for things outside of God's righteousness. And when it comes to the end of it, none of that stuff really matters. You can't take it with you. I heard of a story of a bitter old man. People kept telling him he should donate his money, and he said, well, they said, you can't take it with you. He said, I don't want anybody else to have it. So what he did was he lined his coffin with $100 bills, like stacks of hundreds, and he was buried with it. He said, I told you so. I'll take it with me. None of that stuff matters. It's vanity. It's chasing the wind. Isaiah 55:2 says, why do you spend your money for that which is not bread? And you labor for that which does not satisfy. Listen diligent to me, and eat what is good, and delight yourselves in rich food. So what do you hunger and thirst for? Church, what are you hungry for? Are we hungry for the righteousness of God, or are we hungry to be seen? Are we hungry to be validated? Because we cannot do this on our own. Only the righteousness of God saves people.
Amen.
Do you labor and do you thirst for that which does not satisfy? How long are we going to chase the wind before we screw our heads on straight and we decide, hey, God, you got to do it? And this is not what's the word I'm looking for? This is not an indictment of our church, but the church as a whole. Because I believe, church family, that we have a mass of people who hunger and thirst for righteousness. We are a hungry church. How do we make Old Mulkey hungry? Let's give them something to eat. Let's give them the righteousness of God. They're not going to see it unless we act it, unless we say it, unless we live it. Let's walk up and down the streets with the righteousness of God. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. See, the one who hungers and thirsts for righteousness, really what they hunger and thirst for is the character of the kingdom. I hunger and thirst to live as God would have me to live. I hunger and thirst for righteousness. I hunger and thirst for holy living. I want to be set apart. I don't want to just be like anybody else. I want to be who God has placed me on this earth to be. I am hungry and thirsty for the righteousness that only He can provide. There is one source. To hunger and thirst for righteousness is to have this overwhelming desire. This desire to live out the words of Jesus. This desire to show up to His house every time you're in the doors, expecting something to happen, expecting Him to do a work, expecting Him to come into this sanctuary and take over. Let His Holy Spirit rain fire upon our souls. Are we hungry for that, or are we just hungry for repetition? Are we hungry for just the way things have always been? I tell you how the church started in Acts. They're doing things not the way it's always been. Fire comes down, they're all speaking in different languages. The status quo has changed. The church took on a new culture, a new life. He breathed the winds in. And as we're going to talk about tonight with Ezekiel 37, He breathed new life into those dry bones, and they come up and they were a great army. That's my shameless plug for tonight. Ezekiel 37, please be here. It's one of my favorite messages. To hunger and thirst for righteousness has this overwhelming desire, not just, well, I could eat, or not just, well, this sounds pretty good. No, the hunger and thirst for righteousness means it's right here. I have to have it now. Let's go. Get out the door. If you don't come with me, I'm leaving you here. You will be left behind if you're not hungry. To hunger and thirst for righteousness does not mean just to fit Him into your schedule whenever He fits. I heard a ministry say one time, we exist for you to help fit God into your schedule. And I heard that. What is the matter with you? And I'm sure they meant well. They probably did. I'm sure their heart was maybe kind of sort of in the right place, but that's one of the most ridiculous statements a ministry can say. We as Second Baptist exist to help you fit God into your schedule. If you can make it, great. We would love for you to make time for Jesus so you can come in and worship Him and you can fit Him into your busy schedule. So that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's all about fitting God into your schedule. If you make time for Him, I'm sure He's up there right now. Well, I hope you guys make time for me this Sunday. I got something really good for you. If you can make it, that'd be great. But if you can't, we'll catch you next week. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who live as if they will die of starvation tomorrow without this righteousness. Do we live like there is no tomorrow? Because the person who's truly about to die from hunger and thirst, they're going to do whatever they can to get it. Whatever they can. They're going to pick up any little sliver, any little drop that comes through. And you see the videos of the guys that are in the desert and they're dying of thirst, and every time they see a little drop of water, they're trying to get everything they can. That is hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's not, well, I'm kind of thirsty, give me water. But no, hunger and thirst for righteousness as if our lives depended on it. Do our lives depend on it, or are we just chasing the wind, looking for whatever we can find? Do you labor and do you thirst for that which does not satisfy? How long are you going to chase it? Are we just doing enough to try and get by? Are we doing just enough to try to survive? Are we trying to find the line between I can follow God, but I don't have to give up too much of what I want to do? Are we trying to find that happy medium there where I can keep my old life, but I can make it look like I'm following God? Or are we hunger and thirst for righteousness where I will give up everything for just a drop just a single drop of living water, I will give up everything that I am and everything that I have, just so I can have a taste. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Taste it. Are we giving up everything, or are we just trying to get by? Yeah, I'll tell you, there's some days I come to the office and I feel convicted because, God, I'm just trying to get through this day. I'm exhausted. I'm not feeling it. I'm praying I don't get an angry phone call or something today. God, just get me through the day. And I pray, please let Judah be in a good mood when we get home. Because if we're going from one thing to the other. And oftentimes he'll convict me and say, well, are you doing enough to get by? Because if you're doing enough to get by, you're never really growing. If us as a church, if we live this life of we're doing just enough to get by, we are fulfilling the status quo, this is what is expected of us, and this is what we're going to do. If that's the way we're living as a church family, we're never really going to grow, are we? All we're going to do is we're going to stay about 70 to 100 people for the next 50 years, and that's just the way it'll be. Or do we hunger and thirst for righteousness? Because let me tell you something, this town is hungry and thirsty for something. All you got to do is drive down the road and you can see it. All you got to do is see these kids walking home from school and the look in their eyes, they're hungry for something. The homeless population, they're hungry for something. They're hungry physically and they're hungry for something spiritually. They have questions and they have questions that need answers, and we can't answer it if we don't truly hunger and thirst ourselves for this righteousness. We should be the example in this town. I believe we are on our way. I believe Second Baptist is about to set the standard for what it means to be hungry and thirsty in Almogi. People want to say, you want to know what a church family really looks like? You look over there. You want to know what a hungry church looks like? Look over there. You want an example? You want to see someone who has set the standard, who's someone who the people in the town look to? Okay, I don't have to ask any questions. I don't have to wonder if that church wants it because I see it every day. I see it on the internet. I see it as they're walking the streets. I see it as they're at their jobs. People know that something's different because he's hungry. I see Josh at the school. He's hungry. I see Renee at the school. She's hungry. Let's set the standard, not only in our church, but in our jobs, in our lives, in our families, in our restaurants. Set the standard. Are you hungry, or are you just trying to get by? And I have an object lesson for you from the prophet Elijah on embracing the power of God. He says, if you could go to 2 Kings chapter 13, and what's going on here is Elisha. I'll read it. 2 Kings 13, I want to read verses 14 through 17. Now when Elisha, had fallen sick with illness and he was about to die, Joash the king of Israel went down to him and wept before him, crying, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen. And Elisha said to him, take a bow and arrows. So he took a bow and arrows. And he said to the king of Israel, draw the bow. And he drew it. And Elisha laid his hands on the king's hands. And he said, open the window eastward. And he opened it. Then Elisha said, shoot. And he shot. And he said, the Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Syria. For you shall fight the Syrians at Aphek until you have made an end to them. So a little background for these verses right here. Things are not going well for the king of Israel. Things are not good. He has inherited a depleted nation, this King Joash. He has inherited a depleted nation and a depleted military. And they are on the verge of invasion. They are on the verge of being wiped out, done, over. So Joash, this king of Israel, he comes to Elisha. At this point, Elisha is he's near the end of his life. He's a respected prophet. He is a respected leader. He's one of the great men of the Old Testament. Remember, Elijah says, well, what would you ask him? And he says, I want a double portion of your spirit. Okay, well, if you see me get taken up to heaven, you can have it. And Elisha sees it. He has a double portion of the spirit of Elijah, who many proposed is the greatest prophet of the Old Testament. But he comes to this, King Joash comes to this prophet Elijah. He's in a panic. He's in a panic, and he's in a fear of his kingdom being ripped away. He's afraid that everything he thinks he's built for himself is about to be ripped away, and he's scared because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose this life I've built for myself. So here's what he does. He says, take the bow and arrows. So King Joash takes the bow and arrows. Draw the bow. Open the door. Shoot. Joash does all this. And after he shoots the arrow, Elisha shouts, the Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Syria. And that's just what Joash was looking for, isn't it? Well, that's exactly why I came. Thank you. The Lord's arrow of victory. Oh, praise God. I came to church and I got just what I was looking for. The Lord's arrow of victory. That, you know what? That's all I needed. I needed a victory, and God promises me a victory. Oh, praise the Lord. The job's over now. He needed help. God promised a victory. Simple as that. Done. And much like a lot of people coming into the church all across America today, they are looking for something. They're looking for a victory. They are searching for meaning. They are searching for something to make them belong. They are either hurt or lost. Maybe they're coming in for the first time, and hopefully, in a church worth its salt, they are meted by friendly believers. They are met. Did I say meted? They are met by believers who were searching for the same thing, who are searching for the same thing. And they welcome them with open arms. And praise God for those people. Praise God for the believers who welcome people with open arms. And a lot of times these visitors, even for myself a couple times, they like the people of the church so much. They're like, oh, these people are so friendly. They're so happy. Oh, everything's great. My problems are solved. They like the people so much, the visitor is content because they made a bunch of new friends, and church becomes a social hour. Oh, yeah, I love you guys so much. I want to come and hang out with you. Let's talk. Let's catch up. How's your daughter? How's your son? Oh, praise God. I'm just glad I have all these new friends. When church turns into a social hour like that, you're missing the point. You're getting just enough to get by. Churches die when it turns into a social hour. They feel like their problems have been solved. That's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the story, because Elisha makes it clear to Joash. He says, the arrow of victory is the Lord's victory. When you shoot, what you shoot will speak to your victory. What you put out will speak to your victory. How you chase God, how you hunger and thirst for righteousness, that will speak to your victory. Not just enough to get by. Not just, I had to do my Bible study today, and I did Psalm 102. Oh, for the Lord builds up Zion and he appears in his glory. Oh, God, I pray that you build up your glory in my life. Praise God, hallelujah. I got to go to work. That's not hungry and thirst for righteousness. That's doing enough to get by. What you shoot will speak to your victory. So with that in mind, when he makes this clear to King Joash, what your victory looks like, and then a proper sense of desperation relating to our circumstance, what do you think the natural reaction from Joash should be? The natural reaction would be to enthusiastically attack every opportunity. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty for victory. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty for righteousness. I'm hungry and thirsty because I can't fill myself. I've tried to feed myself and I can't do it. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty, so I will enthusiastically attack every drop, every piece of food that I can because I'm about to die. I'm so hungry. I need something. No, that's not what Joash does. And then there's Joash. And he says in verses 18 and 19, and he said, take the arrows, and he took them. And he said to the king of Israel, strike the ground with them. And he struck 3 times, and he stopped. And then the man of God was angry with him, and he said, you should have struck 5 or 6 times, and then you would have struck down Syria until you made an end of it. But now you will only strike down Syria 3 times. And notice it says he struck 3 times and stopped. 3 times. And he stopped. It doesn't say he struck 3 times. It doesn't say he struck the ground. It says he struck 3 times and stopped. If he struck 3 times and stopped, it's every indication that he had more to give. He had more arrows in there. God had more arrows he wanted to shoot. He had more arrows. He had more victory he was trying to pour out on Joash's life, and yet he's 3 times. And Elisha here, look how mad he gets. What are you doing? What are you doing? You should have struck 5 or 6 times. Then you would have struck down Syria until they were gone, until they were dead for good. What are you doing? Why are you not hungry for this victory? You're just doing enough to get by 3 times. Victory only for a little while is not really victory at all. They said in Teen Challenge, a lot of the guys that come in there and they're hungry and they're thirsty to get out of jail. They're hungry and thirsty to get these charges dropped. They're hungry and thirsty for all these things. And they come into this program and they stop doing these drugs and they stop doing all this. And they fight the good fight. They play along. Oh, praise God. But they never really give their life to Jesus. They never really address the root of the problem. Because what they said was, you don't have a drug problem, you have a sin problem. And if you don't address the sin problem, if you don't crawl to the cross and say, God, I need you to take this out of my life, all you're doing is drying out. Trust me. I was one of those people who just dried out and say, I got this, Dad, I can do it. You want to know how long I made it the first time I got out? See, I got out on Saturday morning, Monday night, so about 48 hours. I wasn't hungry and thirsty for nothing. I was ready to go. Until you fix the root of the problem, until you are hungry and thirsty for the righteousness of God, all you're doing is getting by. So Elisha says to him, he says, what are you doing? Shoot every single arrow you have. Victory for only a little while. It's just like holding the door open, waiting for the next time, waiting for the next thing to come. Stop, church family, stop leaving the door open. Are we leaving the door open just to get by because I don't know. Some of that wasn't that bad. Maybe I could go witness to my friends who live that old life, but I have to be there among my friends to do it. Stop it. Stop it. Has anyone in here ever tried to follow God halfway and then wondered why nothing's happening? Oh God, I'll give you Sundays and I'll give you Wednesday nights. I'll even give you twice a day on Sundays and then Wednesday, but I got to do this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'm giving you, I'll give you 100% of my Sundays, 60% of my Wednesdays, and I'll give you every other Friday. You ever tried to follow God halfway and then wonder why nothing's happening? Why is my life just the way it is? Well, I thought when I went to church, God was supposed to fix all this thing. Just walking in the door doesn't fix anything.
Amen.
You being here in the seat doesn't fix anything. It is a heart that is hungry and thirsty for the righteousness that God has. It says, beat the ground. You keep beating the ground. Not just 3 times, not just a little bit to get you by. You wonder why nothing's happening until finally you come to that point of desperation where enough is enough. Enough is enough. I am hungry and I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm hungry and I need to be satisfied. I'm so tired of feeling like something's missing that I've come to that point where what you're saying at that point is, God, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I will go wherever you tell me to go, because the enemy is closing in on all sides of me, and you are my rescue. You are my refuge. You are my strength. God, I'm hungry for the righteousness that you have provided from page 1 all the way to page 395,000. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. So what I will do is every arrow you give me, I will keep shooting, and I will keep shooting, and I will keep shooting, and I will keep shooting until, God, you provide the victory, because I'm done fighting on my own. I will shoot every arrow. I will shoot every arrow I have until the God does something, because God, I'm hungry. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. I'm hungry for your love, God. I'm hungry for your righteousness, God. I'm hungry for your peace and your understanding. God, I need you to step into my life and my family. I need you to step into my church. I need you to do it now. God, do something. Are you going to beat every arrow that you have, or are you going to just read half of it and be done with it and say, I've got what I need? I'm hungry and I'm thirsty for righteousness. I will shoot every arrow that I have, because I can't move in my own strength anymore. I will shoot every arrow I have until my arms don't work anymore, until I'm empty, until I'm depleted, because I know when I am truly empty, then you can fill me up. God, I need your righteousness, and I need it now. God, I'm hungry for your love. Come into my home, come into my heart. Transform my life. Transform who I am. I want to be made new. I need you everywhere that I am. I need you every moment of every day. Our church family, are we truly hungry like that? Are we truly hungry? What do you hunger and thirst for? Do you hunger and do you thirst for the things of this world? The things just enough to get by? Stuff that's only good enough for a little while? Are we keeping the door open, or do we hunger and thirst that we will slam every door that we have to get into that restaurant because we are hungry? Are you hungry for that stuff? Or do you hunger and thirst for righteousness? Holy living? Do you hunger and thirst to be set apart? And I would challenge you today to really examine your life, and examine your actions, examine the way your week looks, and to really ask yourself, am I hungry on Monday the same way that I pretend to be hungry on Sunday mornings? There's a song going around, I want a Monday morning faith. Are you hungry on Mondays, on Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, or do you just eat twice a week and that's good enough to get by? I can keep up appearances if I eat twice a week. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. The hole shall be filled and shall be stopped up, and they will be satisfied beyond anything you can ever imagine. So here's my invitation. If you guys want to come up and start playing, the invitation is simple. I invite you today to the well that never runs dry. We are hungry and thirsty for righteousness. We are hungry and thirsty to be fulfilled. And we have it. We have the well that will never run dry. We have it right here. He has given it to us across generations. He has given us His Word. So when you are hungry and when you are thirsty for something, you're looking for meaning, you've got the answer in you've got it right in front of you. The well that never runs dry. God has given us His holy Word right here. And through His Word, He speaks to us, and He makes His home within us, and He fulfills us, and He satisfies us. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. He said, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst. So I ask you today, are you tired? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are you sick and tired of being hungry? Are you sick and tired of a parched mouth? Am I thirsty? God, I need something to drink. I need some living water. I pray that He awakens a hunger in you for righteousness. A hunger that you have never known before. And I can tell you, hungry people get stuff done. A church that is truly, desperately hungry for the righteousness of God will make a difference in this world that you could never imagine. invite you to believe in Him, believe in His Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I invite you to believe in the Word. I invite you to believe in the bread of life. I invite you to come to the water that never runs dry, to have this glass of living water, to be satisfied. I invite you to join the Second Baptist Church and have a seat at the table. Have a seat at the table with us. Join us in this church and have a seat at the table and never be hungry again. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the altars and we're going to sing. And I want to pray that just this hunger and thirst for righteousness comes up in you in a way that you've never felt before. Whether you've been walking with the Lord for all your life or you just started. It's time to get hungry. It's time to be thirsty. It's time to act like our lives depended on it. So let me tell you, it does. Our lives depend on it. And He has promised us an eternity and glory for those who hunger and thirst for what He gives, His living water. Let me pray for us. Lord, we thank you for your righteousness. We thank you for what you've done and how you crawled up on the cross and you became the substitute for our sin. And I pray that you awaken a hunger and a thirst in this church like it's never been seen before. I pray that you step into every person's life in this sanctuary, God, and you awaken in them just a longing and a desire for your Spirit, that they crawl into your word and they examine who you are and they live it and they breathe it, and that it encompasses them in such a way that everyone who even comes in contact with them will know there's something different. That person is hungry for God. That person will do whatever they can to get to God. That person hungers and thirsts for righteousness, for the power of God. We invite you into this room. God, pour out your Spirit on this room right now. God, make a difference in lives. Make a difference in this church. God, I pray that you do it right now.